Welcome to another Sunday afternoon. Sir Owen Disney here, and we are 1 week away from the debut of Pop. And real quickly, I've been trying my best to figure out a way to get to 5,000 before May 1st. And you guys and girls are definitely helping me out because as of this very moment that we are taping this, we are at 4,533. That's right, we are 467 remaining views until we hit 5,000. And we're up to 27 subscribers, so thank you guys for subscribing, and hopefully you guys will enjoy these videos, and you have enjoyed these videos as we've been putting them on here. And I didn't get a chance to do this the other day, but we're over 200 videos now, and that's pretty awesome considering the fact that we started this way back last November with our first video. So, we've come a long way in a very short amount of time, and it's almost the end of April, and we are about to hit 5,000 views. And I would love to say we're at like 5,000 subscribers, but we're at 27, but I thank all of you 27 people, the ones that I can see and the ones I cannot see, because you are hidden for whatever reason. Either you don't have a channel or you just hide your subscriptions. But thank you again for watching. And it's Sunday, which we know means one thing and one thing only: AJ's Weekend Movie Reviews. Now, here's another thing. I want to talk about Pop for a second. Now, unfortunately, we have not secured a full-time video game reviewer. Now, we have some popcasters that do play video games, and they will be able to give opinions on video games, but we're not going to have a full-time video game reviewer. We don't have someone whose sole purpose is to do video game reviews. And I'll let the cat out of the bag that Austin was going to be our video game reviewer, but he has way too much to do with his jobs, both jobs, and he has no free time, so he's not going to be able to join us, so, sad panda. But you will see Austin periodically throughout the year. I can't guarantee when or where or how many times, but you will potentially see him throughout the year. He's not going to be one of the regulars, but he will be someone that provides content every once in a while. Now, I talked to Will last night. He actually took me home, as predicted, from work, and I didn't get to stay, which sucked, but, yeah, oh well, what can I do? I came home last night and listened to Wrestling News Live, so it worked out to my advantage. Now, because we don't have a reviewer for video games, we need another segment for the week. Now, everything I do, like I said, the Raw, SmackDown, Impact recaps will all stay the same. Celebrity Apprentice will stay the same. And you will get a daily vlog from me, just like this, every single day. However, you're getting pop segments as well from the other popcasters. And will be shooting a couple of videos a week. And I secured this yesterday that AJ is going to be shooting a couple a week. Now, we have a different way to get into AJ's movie reviews than before. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of film after the fact. After we watch the movies, we're going to film, and probably in the Black Hallway at Regal, and, excuse me, AJ's opinions on the movie, and I might throw some 2 cents in. I probably will, most likely, and that's going to be your movie reviews. And if we are watching 2 or 3 reviews, you're going to get a snippet from all of them, and the movie reviews that I'm reading verbatim off this computer screen are going to cease to be. And we're also, starting this episode, going to be chronicling some movies you may have missed. Obviously, we got this started in February, and there were some January movies that came out on DVD that we're going to talk about. Movies you need to pick up, and movies you need to put down, and like literally put down to everyone, so you don't let people make the same mistake that we did. Unfortunately, we had to watch these movies. One good, one bad. But we'll talk about those today. Now, AJ's also going to be reviewing television, and like I said, there's going to be some top 10s in the near future, and I'm pretty positive that's going to start happening. Now, each and every week, we're going to try to do a top 10 of sorts. Well, I don't know how that's going to work, per se. If there's not 10 episodes that are deemed worthy, we'll do, like, 5 bad, 5 good. We'll do it that way. And Will's going to do some top 10s, too. So, like I said, I sent the link to Will last night on his Facebook page. So, Mr. Flashback will be reviewing No Holds Barred first, and that will be the first week of May. It'll be one of the first podcast segments you're going to see. And, basically, we secured the services of a music reviewer, so we will have Ben as our music reviewer. He will start the first week of May as well. Now, we are going to be throwing a little female perspective the way of this channel, and we do have 2 best friends that are going to grace us with their presence. Molly and Tara will be joining us for some segments as well, starting the second week of May, the week that Gatsby comes out, so look forward to that. And like I said, you're going to get me on a semi-regular basis, actually a regular basis, not a semi-regular basis. I'll be here every single day, regardless if there's a podcast segment for the weekday or weekend or not. So that's pretty much what we've got here. Now, I've said that AJ's first weekend movie review that he does in person is going to be Iron Man 3, and we're sticking to that. So for the reviews today, and the reviews next Sunday, which are going to end up being movies that we weren't able to see today. Obviously, AJ actually had a change of plans for today, and he's not going to be able to join me today. So I'm by myself, all by my lonesome tonight, and that's okay, because I got some things to do. Actually, not really, and probably just watch Todd, or The Rap Critic, or Doug, or Dr. Jimmy, just depending on what I feel like doing. And I got a Wrestling News Source podcast to listen to as well when I make my lunch. But we'll take that into consideration later. Like I said, I know you guys love when I talk about random things that don't make any sense. But anyway, like I said, pretty much what is going to happen from this point forward. Now, Girl Rising and Home Run are going to be watched tomorrow, actually, because of the Sunday plans falling through. Monday is going to be our movie day, and we're going to watch those movies on Monday now. So they're going to be tacked on to the end of Sunday's movie reviews. So we're going to be throwing those in there with The Big Wedding as well as Pain and Gain, which are going to be on Friday. And, of course, Saturday, as usual, we talk SmackDown, and then Sunday is the WDW Today live podcast and Celebrity Apprentice. So, there'll be a lot of interesting things coming up in the near future. But, given that it is Sunday, let's talk AJ's weekend movie reviews. And as usual, these are AJ's opinions and only AJ's opinions. I may agree with him, I may disagree with him. And, let's just get started with Oblivion. Ever wonder how it would have turned out if Wall-E from the beloved 2008 Pixar movie was played by Tom Cruise? Well then, this is the movie for you. No, Cruise is not actually playing a cute little robot, but he is living on a post-apocalyptic world, basically acting as janitor to what's left on Earth. Now, the idea comes from a comic book, a graphic novel written by director Joseph Kosinski and Arvid Nelson about Cruise's Jack Harper, which you'll notice is only a few letters away from a name of a character he played back in December, who, with his partner/lover, Victoria, Andrea Riseborough, flies around and sometimes bikes around, no, I'm not confusing this with Top Gun, to repair the drones that monitor Earth and make sure everything is as it should be, under the close supervision of Sally, played by Melissa Leo, a face on their computer screen that actually runs an entire station in space, or something like that. However, once he encounters a woman he vaguely remembers from his since-wiped memory, Olga Kurylenko, and comes across a kind of rebel leader, Morgan Freeman, he starts to wonder if maybe the powers that be are hiding something from him, or many things. Okay, I've got to be honest with you. Normally, one would not confess to this, but I've read some reviews where even the great Roger Ebert would have to resort to telling his readers and listeners this. At some point in this movie, I was suddenly aware I had no idea what was going on. Sometimes not even a clue. There are twists and turns at every corner, but what the hell they all reveal? I don't know. Maybe my brain was just having an off day. Maybe I'm suddenly getting dumber. I don't know. A lot of this just made no damn sense to me. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, or maybe the writers were. I can't really tell. Let me at least give the movie credit where it is due, and talk about the effects. These are quite possibly some of the best visual effects I have ever seen. The kind of effects that make you seriously wonder how some things were accomplished. There's shots that seem like miles and miles and miles of dead earth are captured at once. Destroyed landmarks, buildings in the clouds, and it all looks real. There was not a single wasted effect. I don't know what was CGI and what was practical, but they blend together seamlessly. But having said that, even though the movie gives you plenty to take in visually, and it's admittedly never boring, there are a number of things wrong with it. For starters, all the characters are very dull and don't really have anything that makes them unique. They're just kind of there to do what they do. I never bought Jack and Victoria's romance as something serious, like we're supposed to take it. It felt more like two people who screw each other because there's nothing else to do in the future. This isn't helped by the fact that even though Andrea Riseborough is kind of the bee's knees right now and is showing up everywhere, she just hasn't really worked for me yet. I don't find her to have an interesting presence, and I don't see anything she does in a role that any other actress couldn't have. Even the always great Cruise couldn't think of anything interesting to do with his character. I'd also like to issue an apology to any of you Morgan Freeman fans out there. You may see his name in big letters in the trailer. You may see his name on the commercials on television. You may see his name on the posters. But I'd be pushing it if I said he gets more than 5 minutes of screen time in the whole damn thing. His character could have been very cool and badass, and he's literally not there long enough to become anything significant, creative-wise. Kuryalenko is improving as an actress, but still needs some work. The punchline to all of this is the only person in the whole movie that was able to make something totally watchable out of their character was Melissa Leo. And we never see her outside of being on a small monitor. She is deliciously menacing and fun in the little bits we get of her. Now, there are some good scenes every now and then. I quite like the scene where Jack repairs a drone on the remains of a football field and recalls the final game that was played there. There was also a well-photographed scene of Jack and Victoria's intimate evening in a pool, as well as a nice scene where we see his favorite getaway in a cabin, which is pretty much the only thing left that even remotely resembled what Earth once was. However, that isn't enough, as it is smothered by a lifeless story with lifeless characters, offering nothing to get excited about. It particularly goes downhill when Kuryalenko enters the story and interrupts what Riseborough thought to be her perfect life. With Cruise. Causing embarrassing soap opera-style melodrama. The action scenes are okay, but I was horribly distracted by one in particular that has a music score that's been directly lifted from Inception. I'm talking identical notes here. It also grows tiresome and annoying by the end, when after spending the entire movie shooting bullets at the drones, nobody in the climactic shootout learns that firing your guns at the drones does absolutely nothing. Not to mention, just as soon as said climax really gets going, it abruptly just stops. Now, writer-director Kaczynski is also the director of Tron Legacy. I would imagine this guy got his start in visual effects, and it shows. I didn't like Tron Legacy either, but both of these movies have undeniably spectacular special effects. They are Oscar-worthy. But however, when you have a cast list of capable actors, they must have something to do. Even in the middle of an abandoned planet. Will Smith did it in I Am Legend. Denzel Washington did it in The Book of Eli. Underneath all these great special effects, you have to be giving us some kind of story. Preferably one that makes at least a little sense. Maybe next time the studio will come to their senses and keep Kaczynski where he belongs, in post-production. Now, AJ's been wanting to give me this review for a while, actually, and I hope you guys enjoyed. There's a film that is called Mental, and he wants it to get out here, so that's going to be our next review. We're going to talk about Mental. It's been a while since we've heard from director P.J. Hogan. He brought us critically acclaimed romantic comedies, Muriel's Wedding and My Best Friend's Wedding. but we haven't seen since 2009's Harmless Confessions of a Shopaholic. This is the first script he has single-handedly written since Muriel's Wedding in 1994, which is a movie I unfortunately found quite forgettable. So I was skeptical of this new addition to his filmography, despite the promising cast list. This will probably go down as one of the biggest surprises of the year. The story is of Shirley Muchmore, Rebecca Gibney, who as the movie opens on prancing around in her backyard singing songs from The Sound of Music. Turns out she has completely lost her mind after having dealt with raising 5 girls who all believe they have their own mental problems by herself, while her husband, Anthony Paglia, who is also the mayor, neglects her for work and to cheat on her, as well as being constantly ridiculed by her sister and neighbors. With not a clue of how to handle the girls while Shirley is away, Mayor Muchmore comes across a hitchhiking woman who wields a dog and a knife. This woman is Shaz, an unexpectedly badass Toni Collette, the crazy woman he is going to hire to be the kid's new nanny. Shaz manages to help the girls see the great things in life, even if it's in demented, unorthodox ways. The girls grow to love her, but unfortunately the happiness doesn't last as Trevor, Liev Schreiber, Shaz's ex-husband, who is also the employer of the oldest daughter, Coral, Lily Sullivan, comes into the picture, and we aren't sure which one of them is the trustworthy one. All of the performances are remarkable. Collette is best in show, but that's not to undermine the amazing work of LaPaglia, who for most of the movie is incredibly angry and unsympathetic, but manages to bring believable heart to the character when necessary. Schreiber is also good and effectively funny and chilling, sometimes at the same time. Gibney is excellent as the crazy mother, who is also the most likable character in the movie. Caroline Goodall and Carrie Fox also bringing it as Shirley's stuck-up sister and neighbor. The young cast is also very good, particularly Sullivan in her first movie, as well as Sam Clark as Coral's boyfriend, who starts off not very likable, but eventually taught a lesson he learns from very quickly. Now, it manages to work as a great feel-good movie, while also having elements of some surprisingly heavy drama, but balances them out impressively well. You care about the main characters, even if they aren't lovable from the get-go. Only problems are that it goes on a little long. One character has an abrupt turnaround that seems incredibly rushed, and once we really dive into the Schreiber subplot, it seems a bit weird and out of place. It also has a final scene where Shaz sets fire to Goodall's house in a most bizarre manner. I don't know if it was a perfect ending or a totally WTF ending, but either way, it's not an ending you'll forget anytime soon, that's for sure. Okay. Now, those are the movies for this week. Like I said, we're going to get to Home Run and Girl Rising in Friday/Sunday's movie review. But before we get going, AJ has a couple of movies that he wants to talk about that came out earlier this year that have just gotten out on DVD, Blu-ray, and video on demand. So, keep this in mind when you go out to your local video store, if you have one around you. Sadly, we do not. And or if you want to go to Walmart and go to Redbox, keep this in mind, because I've got a couple gems in some cases for you, and a couple things you need to avoid. But we're going to get to those right now. Let's talk about Gangster Squad. Now, it has been a long and stressful wait to finally lay eyes on Ruben Fleischer's Gangster Squad. It started off with an October 2012 release date, which was then given an undetermined date after being replaced in the slot by Ben Affleck's Argo. When it was finally given a solidified September 2012 date, the Colorado tragedy, which coincidentally loosely mirrored a scene in the film, forced it to be taken back off the calendar to shoot a new scene in place of that one. It is Los Angeles in 1949, and Mickey Cohen, Sean Penn, stands on a hillside interrogating a man that is chained to the back of 2 cars facing opposite directions. When Cohen has made his point, he orders the drivers to take off, ripping the man in 2. So we get our first glimpse of the violent underworld hidden underneath the Hollywood limelight of Los Angeles. We are then introduced to our story's hero, Sergeant John O'Mara, Josh Brolin, who has been hired by the chief, Nick Nolte, to gather up a group of cops to ditch their badges and break the law in order to get Cohen out of town. He chooses his friend Sergeant Jerry Wooters, which is Ryan Gosling, and a ragtag group that would fall under the simple descriptions of the smart, taggy, wow, smart, tech-savvy one, Giovanni Ribisi, the loose cannon, wow, my mind is not here today, the loose cannon, Anthony Mackie, the veteran sharpshooter, Robert Patrick, and the eager-to-please rookie, Michael Pena. We are then introduced to another character who sadly has no real purpose. This is Grace Faraday, played by Emma Stone, who is Cohen's trophy girlfriend and etiquette coach. At the start of the film, she has a fling with Wooters. However, later we learn that Wooters does not want her brought into anything and appears to be willing to die for her. For the first half of the film prior to this, I was under the impression they just had a one-night stand. There is nothing to suggest this mutual undying love for each other. I suppose it's only present to place a minor obstacle in plans, not putting Wooters in increased danger. I'd like to take this time to mention another underdeveloped character, the enigmatic one-eyed assassin, Revok, son of Jane Fonda, Troy Garrity. He kills people for Cohen and is introduced into the movie as if he is a force to be reckoned with. Now, he certainly is. He's an unstoppable killing machine when there is a job to be done. Trouble is, we never see him unless there is someone to be killed. He doesn't even have a line. Garrity is a fun actor to watch. See Bandits, Barbershop, and his brief uncredited appearance in Badass. They could have had at least one scene where maybe he has some humanity, or if that doesn't suit you, a scene that simply shows us how vicious he is. Takes his job to a higher level, but no. He is simply there just to shoot you from a distance, if that's what Mr. Cohen desires. The cast is first rate. I mean, look at it. But the highlight easily is Sean Penn. He's been getting a lot of negative attention for his over-the-top, yell-heavy performances of the crime boss, but I think it is clear Penn knows exactly what kind of movie he's in and is ready to go as wild and out of control as the world this film puts around him. He appears to be channeling a more hardcore version of Al Pacino's Big Boy Caprice. I admire Penn, for lately this is a very interesting choice for him. This does not seem like the type of film that would attract the attention of someone who takes themselves as seriously as Ben does. It's almost as much as a breath of fresh air as watching Leonardo DiCaprio play Calvin Candy. Though I must admit, I was a bit disappointed when he didn't take the obvious bait when asked by a reporter about the whereabouts of the ill-fated man from the first scene. He said something that's very unmemorable, as opposed to say he split down, which would have been more in line with this movie's borderline comic book feel. Sure, this movie has a lot of problems, a lot of which I mentioned, and often defies logic, but when you take a step back, pointing out the flaws in a movie like this is irrelevant. This movie isn't striving to be a historical piece to be studied or to be put under a microscope. History is just a loose plantation for a fun, action-packed ride with impeccable production design that it delivers upon. I have no idea what's accurate to reality and what isn't, but I do know that I had a really good time watching this movie. Broken City. Ugh. Broken City is pure disappointment from the word go. The plot, so I thought, begins when disgraced cop Billy Taggart, Mark Wahlberg, is on trial for murder and much of the courtroom's disdain is set free. This catches the attention of the city's corrupt mayor, Russell Crowe, who sees Taggart as a hero. Now, 7 years later, Taggart is now a hire who takes pictures of people in incriminating situations and sells them. The mayor, who remembers him, hires him to find the man who has been banging his wife, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Now, naturally, after Billy hands the pictures over to the man photographed ends up dead. Murdered. This could have Billy swept up in a lot of suspense and sticky situations involving the law. Or not. Or we could have bizarre subplots and emotionless scenes of attempted drama. I can understand wanting to be more of an emotional drama than a thriller, but you can't set yourself up as one and be the other, and if you're going to be an emotional drama, you have to work and invest us, which it doesn't. The first random subplot is a film starring Billy's wife that is set to be a huge hit. But at the premiere, he learns that she has graphic sex scene that is one of the most hilariously poorly titled movies within a movie I have ever seen, Kiss of Life. This situation causes him to beat up her co-star, then go to the bar where he falls off the wagon. Now next comes the councilman, Barry Pepper, who is running against the mayor in the upcoming election. Now the campaign manager for the councilman, played by the very busy Kyle Chandler, is one who is murdered over the pictures. And there is a prolonged branch off from the plot where Pepper's character is traumatized by what happened. When an actor of Pepper's caliber can't make your dramatic scenes work, there's something incredibly wrong with the material. There's also a side character played by Jeffrey Wright, a policeman that Wahlberg can still get information from. The cast could not be any more stellar, and they all go to waste. With the exception of Crow, who totally owns his role, and is a joy to watch. Trouble is, he is barely there. We could have used so much more of the character instead of ignoring him for pointless subplots or going off in the direction of much interesting characters. Much less interesting characters. Not to mention that the film is totally humorless. I was actually quite grateful for some unintentional laughs sprinkled throughout the thing just to lighten things up a bit. But I will give it credit that it managed to bring us a pretty decent ending that wrapped things up pretty well, but the movie is so slow and so boring and uninvolving that it was like doing chores. I was sitting in the back row, and the pacing is so off on this film that a very cute girl actually got up from her date and came to stand in the back in need of stretching her legs. At this point, the movie had been on barely an hour. You may recognize the directors as one half of the brilliant directing duo, the Hughes brothers, who brought us such masterclass films as Menace to Society, Dead Presidents, and From Hell. This is Alan's first solo outing as a director, and I think it's very clear that these brothers should stick together. Here's hoping. So, that was interesting. And, AJ's Weekend Movie Reviews are done for the week, and next week, thankfully, will be the final time I have to butcher AJ's words for the movie reviews. Hopefully you guys watch them. I know you do, definitely. So if you like these videos, go ahead, you can comment, or you can thumbs up the videos, or you can go out to your local cinema and go watch these movies that AJ puts over and that I put over, and stay the hell away from movies that we don't. Like Oblivion, if you want to watch something visual that's not too abysmal, we can take in an old Steve Reeves movie. Anyway, sorry, I just got wrapped up. But the plot of this is basically what I'm trying to say is the fact that if you like the movies, if you heard of a movie on this review that you haven't heard of before, go find it out. Go to your local Cineplex, find it out. Go to any theater and start demanding these movies, because demand actually gets movies brought to your area. It happens. I mean, honestly, it really does happen. You may not think it does, but I know from working at a movie theater that it does happen. So if you want to see these movies that you don't have locally, venture out. Like, take a road trip. Go to a bigger city around you and go watch these films. Or tell your friends to do the same, and maybe we can start getting bigger cineplexes to bring in the limited release movies that everyone needs to see, and stay away from these god-awful pieces of garbage that they bring out instead. So, that's just my 2 cents, though. So, thank you guys for watching this video, and like I said, tomorrow we're going to talk Celebrity Apprentice and watch Monday Night Raw. And that's the plan, and of course, unfortunately, we're going to watch Girl Rising and Home Run, but you'll get that review next Sunday with The Big Wedding and Pain and Gain. So, luckily, that will be the last time I butcher these words, because I've been proving real quick I'm not good at reading stuff verbatim. I don't know what it is, it's just something that doesn't work. But, I'm going to get off here. I get me some lunch, because I am starving. I mean, you may have heard my stomach growl, and I'm sorry if you did, because I am really hungry right now, so I got to go take care of that. So, excuse me. If you want to, you're more than welcome to follow me on Twitter at SirOwenDisney. Or if you want to help us get to 5,000 subscribers, wow, long day, 5,000 hits before May 1st when we turn over to Pop, you're more than welcome to. Subscribe if you like the videos, and leave comments if you like the videos, and the best is yet to come, folks. Trust me. Mark my words, it will happen. And we're going to have some really interesting stuff when Pop comes online May 1st. So, boys and girls, until tomorrow, that's all I got to say about that.